topic, all of you know, the elephant in the room. So I think most of us understand that elephant in the room means that something which all we know, but we don't speak about it. I think we'll start with an external parallel with the Iran war, for example. Most of us may agree that the outcome we achieved, I think it is not what we did not have before the war. Okay, so everybody is puzzled at why this entire thing has been forced upon the entire world. Okay, we all suffered, but nobody of course is speaking about it because the US and the president is all powerful and all. Recently, you must have seen G7. I deliberately mentioned external thing because corporate, all of you are very familiar, but the elephant in the room symptom is there everywhere. Okay, in all spheres of life. From our childhood, I think we have all seen that maybe the classroom teacher is not talking sense or he is a bad teacher, but we don't speak about it. Principal is bad, we don't speak about it, or many things, neighborhood. So all those things are there. I think we can start the session with some definition, or say your kind of experience, what you have kind of observed in your life or in the corporate life, elephant in the room syndrome. Then we can also talk about why it happens, how can we deal with that and all that. Okay, madams.
So while we are talking about elephant in the room, I just while I was reading, I thought I'll relate it with a small story of the elephant. Like in a baby elephant, he's been tied with a chain, right? And he's been conditioned that he doesn't have the strength to pull off the chain, right? Few years down the line, when he turns into a 5-ton huge body, he's still the conditioning is still there that he cannot break that chain. So while we are trying to talk about these things, addressing the elephant in the room, I see two aspects to it. One is, as an individual, am I really willing to look for it? And second is, since we all leaders are here, it becomes very important for us to think, are we giving that safety platform to our people who really want to address the elephant in the room? Are we giving enough courage? Are we giving enough safe space? Because nothing happens only from one side, right? Are we nurturing that behavior of an individual that yes, he actually wants to come out and address something? Many a times, be it our professional lives or personal lives, we are the ones who actually, shut down people. Don't say like this, okay? This probably, we can address it later. This is not the time, okay? What if things didn't work out the way you want to see it? So that is my thought. While as an individual, definitely we need to work on it, but at the same time, as leaders, are we giving that platform? As parents, as elders in the family, are we giving that comfort zone to people around us and standing by them to give them the courage that doesn't matter? Okay, it is the elephant, the same thing. When the issue comes, issue is pretty small, but since it has been subsided for years, now it has become an issue to a level where the person thinks that if I actually try to address this, I might face backlashes, okay, I might be cornered, or I might have any political so-called corporate after effects, and I have to bear the consequences. So professor, for me, both the things are very, very
I
important.
think madam has been touching about the protection for the whistleblowers. That will come, of course, but another thing is that whether the leader can hear the complaints with adequate time and attention, and whether it is permissible within the fast changing life of ours, because the corporate life, what we are seeing concurrently, that time is an essence. Okay, nobody has time for all those things. Okay, we need to take decisions quickly, lot many things are on my plate and all those things. So who will actually deal with this, with the patients and other things, that I think somewhat corporates need to think about it. That has to be
Definitely,
some mechanism, so that
definitely.
valves, that grievances will not kind of, should come out gradually rather than bursting out kind of thing. I'll just yeah.
Okay, so your original question was that have we faced in our corporate lives a situation? It's a everyday situation, right? And I believe culturally, my personal opinion, that in India, I think we lack the courageous integrity to say things because we have too many dependencies in our early formative stage. At some point, you see the transformation of the same person who is very bold, but early stages, mein, it's like, naukri rahegi ki nahi if I tell.
Subservience is the key.
Yes, but having worked in the US for a decade, I have noticed that their job is just like a commodity. I mean, people treat it 15-day notice, here it's a 90-day. So, I have seen a person 3 levels below me also challenge me, right? So, I think it's a cultural nuance which we Indians follow. We are respectful. In the guise of respect, we also are a little less courageous because we have too many other obligations. What if I do? I'm comfortable in this job. If I address the elephant, maybe there'll be a backlash. And like you rightly said, if the leader has the empathy to take up feedback in the right way, then I believe that, and I'm seeing in Gen Z the culture is growing. I'm seeing that maybe because most of them are born with a golden spoon, not even a silver spoon. So they have a very heavy backup in their dads and moms. So they have that, and I'm very happy to see that. But yes, a corporate world, there are many examples where I myself have curbed my instinct to tell the CEO, or the emperor's new clothes is another analogy.
Boss is always right. But when you say about the open culture that you have experienced in US and many other countries, I narrate one incident my son is settled in Australia. So when in the last to last election, the Scott Morrison, when he lost, so he was campaigning in his neighborhood. So he was standing on the lawn of somebody's house, okay, and the press was there. He was giving some bites. Then the owner came out and said, "Oh, don't stand on my space. Please go to the other space." So he said sorry and moved on. Nothing happened. So, do we have that kind of conditions in other countries or other kind of corporates where we can say things like that and will not be kind of penalized in some way, kind of thing? So it is a broader question actually. It's not about one individual leader or individual company creating that kind of thing. Okay, it is about overall cultural phenomenon. And as you said rightly, from the very beginning of our childhood, elders are always right. I'm not saying you should disrespect elders, but there has to be kind of a very open thing, two-way process. That can be a dialogue kind of thing, which we don't encourage nowadays. Of course, parents like us, we are more accommodative and kind of thing. Sometimes we take the other extreme kind of thing, but I mean, overall, it is still missing kind of thing. So we need to figure out as a kind of country, whether when we progress to Viksit Bharat 2047, that whether we can progress only based on physical infrastructure and other things without putting sufficient efficiency on the softer things. Okay, the entire thing, education thing, the cultural aspect, how do you kind of treat civic sense, for example. Civic sense also comes from that actually. Yeah.
So we have been following a very pedagogic model, right? If you believe it's a sage on the stage, more of that aura, right? And interestingly, I read about Israel as a country. I mean, they always have been in a
Like you open
fight
YouTube,
of
there are
flight.
lots of gurus, everybody is giving gyan.
No, so in Israel, there is a concept of the 10th man. So in a room, if there are 9 people who agree, this guy is getting paid to disagree with all of them with some reasoning, right? So that brings out in India, if 3 people, you take a vote now, right? If me one and he will say yes, the other 3 are apprehensive to say no because they are saying maybe I am wrong. So that self-doubt, education. So all these are like, according to me, roots of the symptom that we see.
Other thing is that if you go against the kind of herd and suppose you are proven wrong,
Yeah.
so then that risk nobody wants to take. Kind of thing.
Be it in your society meetings where you will be ostracized, or be it in a corporate world, and the vengeance will come back in the next meeting. So people generally look where the political power is and then they try to steer and incline towards that.
Sir?
Yeah. No, I think, first of all, thank you for inviting. And I think this was a very interesting topic. And I think most of us face this very often. And just to take on from where my colleagues have said, I think, see, culturally, from a how we grow as a family, I think this gets ingrained in all of us. Typically the generations earlier, they have not been very vocal. And if you are vocal, you are sometimes, you are on the other side, wrong side. So I think people carry that sentiment even to the corporate sector or wherever they work. And sometimes I've seen very obvious things. People are very afraid to speak out because the direction has come from people position of power. But I have also experienced another side where, you know, how people can sometimes challenge the elephant in the room. And I think that comes from when you are operating from a sense of security. If you yourself feel insecure and underconfident, you will not be able to challenge. I've seen professionals whom I also consider as mentor, and they have done extremely good job in calling out, if any kind of bullshitting is happening, even in front of the board, and they are not part of the board member. So that requires a lot of courage, conviction, and your own grounding. Otherwise, what he said, you will be always flowing with the crowd and be there as in the herd mentality, which often we find. Interestingly, what I also find in the Gen Z, as you mentioned, because I wrote a book on Gen Z very recently, I think they are extremely vocal. And when they are coming to the workplace, they are calling out all these things, which is very uncomfortable for the traditional managers because they are often paired with managers who are from different generations. So obviously, they are not what their managers, how they grew in their career. So I think it's good thing that they are more vocal, more secured, and they call spade a spade. I think that's what would make the workplace more democratic and inclusive going forward. I think that's
Now, very limited instances where I feel what I can add here is, it is basically a conditioning of yourself. How and when to speak. Because, it's very easy to question the elephant in the room. But it is about that, okay, if you do not do, because I have worked in like around 7 to 8 companies so far. So if you do not do it, then the elephant grows bigger. Okay? If you do not do it, then elephant grows bigger, and then next time somebody asks the same question, there is no space of asking or asking difficult questions. I think the cultural shift has to, if everything has to be well, has to move towards one direction, that instead of creating problems or finding problems, you know how entire work ecosystem or ethos works in today's date, at least in our sales or business development scenario, is people find out the problems, create a beautiful presentation on the problems, and then what can cause these problems. But there is no movement of the needles, like the actual work. The actual work needs to happen to solve the problem, right? So we actually devote a lot of problems, lot of questions, lot of like way forward, how to find out what are the lags, what are the lacunas. We all know the answers, but we are not afraid to say, okay, what may happen. There are scenarios in my 18-20 years of work life. There were like first 10 minutes I knew the answers. Okay, that okay, this is the solution to a problem, but we still had a 2 hours conversation with the board, and everybody had the answer. Probably everybody had the answer, but nobody had the was the first person. Okay, I know the answer. This is how we should do. You know, now a lot of people are also encouraging people to speak up. That is why the people who are executing it in the ground, they are the one who has the most amount of visibility.